কমাৰ ফদিয়াই সৰু গাঁওখনি মোৰ ব্ৰহ্মাণ্ডৰ ক্ষুদ্ৰ ডাঙৰণ ইয়াতে শৈশৱ লীলা ইয়াতে এদিন মোৰ কোনোবা শৰৎ ৰাতি যৌৱনৰ ধীৰ জাগৰণ দুটি চকু মেলিয়েই ইয়াতে পুনতে দেখো বিনন্দিয়া সৃষ্টিৰ পোহৰ ইয়াতে পুনতে ভাগে আবেগৰ মোৰ আই বাই ভনী সকলোটি কেনেহে পাহৰ
Kamarfadia, the little hamlet of mine, a small edition of this universe. Here alone passed my infancy. Here alone, on some autumn night, my youth came crowding. Opening my eyes, I behold the blissful light of creation. Here alone rises the passion in my mind. My mother, my sisters, and all those close to my heart. Years ago, way back in 1899, on the 7th day of the 8th month, there was born a child in the Neog household, in the tiny hamlet of Kamarfadia, near the eastern banks of the Dikho. This child, later on, went on to become one of the most prolific scholars of the Assamese literary fraternity. He was invariably one of the brightest jewels from the land of Assam. He was Dimbeswar Neog. Born to Manik Chandra Neog and Chandraprabha Neog, Dimbeswar had been a shy and withdrawn person right from a tender age. Even as a child, he had been a silent observer and a deep thinker, which is why he was nicknamed Sagar. Being raised in a household where love and discipline went hand in hand, he grew up to be a man of principles, with a transparent heart and an honest mind. Dimbeswar Neog began his primary education at Kamarfadia Lower Primary School, set up by his father within the compound of their house. With his siblings, he shared a warm and loving equation and was very attached with his mother. He began his scholastic career in the year 1910 at the Sibsagar Government High School. He was a sincere student and never failed to remain in the good books of his teachers. His first stint with literature was in his early school days when he was selected as the assistant editor for the handwritten school magazine Pumuki. Seeing his brilliance equally over both Assamese and English literature, his English teacher Rajendranath Borua had commented, "Dimbeswar will be a big man," and yes, it turned out to be true. After passing his matriculation with flying colors, he started his higher secondary education in Cotton College. By and by, Dimbeswar Neog became more engrossed in literary field and started with writing poems. This budding and promising poet was encouraged and praised by one and many. This man had a phenomenal talent of composing even the most soulful of poems within minutes. To his credit, Dimbeswar Neog had over a dozen collection of poems and great many number of works in prose on Assamese literature and history. Some of his noteworthy books include New Light on History of Ahomia Literature, Origin and Growth of the Ahomia Language, Ahomia Sahitya Buronji, Jagat Guru Shonkordev, Jugonayak Shonkordev, Bishwa Sahityor Jilingoni, Neog Kaibomala, Hanti Kavach, Bisitra, Ahoma. His work won him accolades from some of the finest literates of Assam, such as Lakshminath Bechborua, Chandra Kumar Agarwala, Beni Madhav Borua, Gyanoda Bhiram Borua, Jyoti Prasad Agarwala, Parvati Prasad Borua, to name a few. Even prominent scholars from the West, like Jules Bloch, R.L. Turner, greatly appreciated his fine line of work. Writing has always been his greatest passion, and thereby he always considered himself as a writer and not as a scholar. Dimbeswar Neog's constant support had been his better half, Ajoli Tora, who was the daughter of renowned scholar Benudhar Rajkhua. Being from a literary family herself, Ajoli Tora provided her husband with the much needed motivation. She adorned his life, but as destiny would have it, his soulmate too left him with his 7 small children at a very early age. Name, fame, and respect filled the precious 67 years of his life. Even at such an age, when one should relax, Dimbeswar Neog never stopped working and carried on with his writings, as if there is no end to his busy schedule, as if there is never a stagnant period in his life. He was the president of the Assam Sahitya Sabha Nalbari session. But as all good things come to an end, the autumn of the year 1966 brought with it the darkest cloud in his life. He was diagnosed with some serious illness, but even then, it could not deter his spirit from his work. He continued writing, putting up a brave fight with the disease. His undying spirit is clearly reflected when he attended a meeting organized by Akashvani Guwahati just 24 days before his heavenly departure. It was in this meeting where he recited the poem Baja Baja Bharat Hongit, which was supposedly his last poem. The world could just stare and wonder at his selfless love and dedication for literature. But in pursuing his passion, he almost forgot that he too was a man of flesh and blood. Faint thoughts disturbed him, and for once he became weak mentally. Unconsciously, his eyes moistened with the thought of leaving his children. He knew he had several unaccomplished tasks to do, yet time was slipping from his hands. He spent 8 days in the hospital bed, and these were perhaps the only 8 days in his life when the great scholar did not hold a pen in his hand. Then finally came the ill-fated night of November the 11th. It was the night of Dipanita. The time was 3:50 a.m. It was almost dawn. Without disturbing anyone, Dimbeswar Neog departed forever from this mortal world silently. The dark night of Dipanita was followed by a bright morning, a new day, a new start. The sun rose again, but what never rose again was the deep baritone of this strong man. The Indradhanu Kavi, the critic, the devoted literati, the uncrowned king of Assamese literature, is now silent and listless. But his works and his verses continue to spread his fragrance and his thoughts amidst us for today and forever.
চকু পাহি দুটি জপালে যেতিয়া আৰু নকপিল বুকু নতুন বিশ্বৰ নতুন পুৱাৰ মেলিলি নতুন চকু